In speaking part 3, there are 6 common types of questions. If you want to improve your IELTS speaking, you need this word. You need feedback to improve all the aspects of your speaking skills. The first and probably the most common type of question in part 3 is an opinion question. In opinion questions, you're supposed to give your opinion, what you think, followed by a reason which you explain. So of course you could say, in my opinion, I think, I believe. But we can vary it a little bit because the questions in part 3 are not actually very formal. They're still kind of informal, conversational. So you could start with something like, as I see it, personally, for me. If you have a strong opinion, you could say something like, I'm convinced that, I'm sure that. Or if you're not so sure, you could say, maybe, perhaps, possibly. So what kinds of movies are popular with young people in your country? For me, I think in Taiwan, it's definitely action movies. You see action movies all the time at the movie theaters. There's always on many showings and many screens. And most young people enjoy going to see action movies, especially Marvel movies and Hollywood movies, such as Iron Man, Spider-Man, and things like this. These are always very popular in Taiwan. Evaluate is another common question type in part 3. And evaluate questions, what they do is they ask you to comment on someone else's opinion. So basically you have to either agree or disagree with someone else's opinion. If you agree, you could say something like, I couldn't agree more. I totally agree. Your opinion is the opposite. You could say, I totally disagree. I'm afraid I disagree. So this is how you answer evaluate questions. Some people believe that movie theaters will close down in the future because home systems are getting so much better. Do you agree or disagree? I totally disagree. Even though home theaters are getting much, much better and more convenient for everyone, I think going to the movies is a special occasion. It's got a much better atmosphere, and therefore movie theaters will always maintain their popularity. Movie theaters will always be popular because it's a special occasion. People can go for dates, people can go and watch movies on a huge screen in 3D, 4D, and they can't really do these things in their homes. So that's why I totally disagree. The third common type of question in part 3 is asking about the future. They ask you what you think is going to happen in the future. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Some students will often use will or won't. And that's a very good grammatical structure, but it's a little bit common. So we need to learn a few other structures we can use for the future. Don't worry about your answer too much because in the future, no one knows what's going to happen. How do you think movies will change in the future? I think most people would predict that in the future, movies will become much more interactive. Movies will feature things like AI, 4D, etc. will be much more common than nowadays. If it rains in the movie, you'll probably feel some rain. If something exciting happens, there's so many options what they can do to make you feel those emotions while watching a movie in the future. And I think all these things will almost certainly happen in the future. Hypothetical questions are fairly common in part 3 of the test. Hypothetical questions mean we're talking about situations which are untrue, which may be impossible or unlikely. And we will use things like if, and past participle, and would. If you could meet any movie star, who would you like to meet? If I could meet any actor, I would actually choose someone like Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise has been famous for decades and decades now. I remember watching him in very old movies. He was very good when he was young, and now he's kind of old, and he's like 60, but he's still doing these exciting action movies. So I think I'd ask him, meet him and like to ask him how he maintains his motivation to keep going. He's so rich and famous. He doesn't need to, but yeah, I think he's a very good movie star. Another common type of question in part 3 is compare and contrast, where you're asked to compare or contrast two different things. So in these kind of questions, you need to know how to use comparatives. It's usually adjective plus ER, taller, faster. It could be irregular adjectives, good, better, bad, worse, or long adjectives like more exciting, more interesting, more dangerous. What are the differences between watching movies at home or in the movie theater? Watching movies at home is definitely more comfortable because the seats are better. You can pause the movie, you can go to the restroom whenever you want. But I think watching movies in the movie theater is more exciting. There's a better atmosphere, there's a bigger screen, there's louder sound, and all these things make it a much better experience. The final and very common type of question they love to ask in part 3 is about the past. They love to ask about the past and now and what's changed. And these questions can be difficult because most students in the test are quite young and they love to ask about when you were a child or when your parents were young. You might not actually know about these things. You may have to guess sometimes and just use your common sense. So for past tense questions, of course, we can use simple past tense. But I also like to use things like used to, because used to, you don't need to remember the past tense of the verb. You can just say in the past people used to, but now, and then the present tense. How have movies changed in your country in the last 20 or 30 years? 20 or 30 years ago, there were a lot more movies made in Taiwan shown at the movie theater. Home-produced domestic movies were much more popular with people. However, these days, probably due to things like globalization, Hollywood movies are much more popular. Big Hollywood blockbusters dominate the movie theaters, and there seems to be fewer Taiwanese movies available to watch. If you want to improve your IELTS speaking, you need this word. You need feedback to improve all the aspects of your speaking skills. It can improve your vocabulary, your grammar, your fluency, and your pronunciation. And this will help you to achieve the band you desire, and you can study abroad and hopefully, achieve your career goals.